this video, I'm going to share with you the exact steps I took from going $21,000 in debt to building a $1 million career coaching business in less than 2 years. For those of you who don't know who I am, my name is Nguyen, and I'm the founder of Purple Circle, a community of career and executive coaches who are making $1 million or more in our businesses and those who want to make $1 million or more in the next 12 months. In this video, I'm going to share with you a live talk that I gave at a founders conference. This conference was attended by over 400 entrepreneurs from all around the world, including those who were doing more than $100 million a year in their business. I attended the same conference when I was still working a full-time job and just starting my career coaching business on the side as a weekend business. And then 2 years later, I took that same part-time career coaching business and made it my full-time business, doing over $1 million a year. I was originally invited to give the same talk in 2020, but we all know what happened then. So this talk ended up happening in 2022. So in 2022, while the business had grown past the $1 million mark, I still wanted to share the first 2 years of my journey when I was still in debt. So in this video, I'm not going to hold anything back. I'm going to share with you the entire talk end to end, and I'm going to give you exactly what worked and what didn't work so you can avoid the same mistakes that I made. So why am I doing this? Because I want to give a ton of value for free. And I know there's a small percentage of you who will watch this video and want to become part of our career coaching community, where you'll be surrounded by other coaches who've crossed the $1 million mark and others who are on their way to making their first $1 million this year. So if after watching this video, you're interested in finding out more about Purple Circle and how you can apply, you can check out the details below this video. Now, without further ado, let's dive right into the presentation so you can start growing your career coaching business. You guys like that song? If you really like it, you can call my phone number. That is my ringtone. In fact, every single person has the same ringtone on my phone, except for one person. That person is my mom. My mom's ringtone goes 5, 4, 3, 2. Because if I don't pick it up by the count of 0, the cops will show up. But luckily, when my mom calls me, she really only ever calls for 3 reasons. Reason number 1, what am I getting for my birthday, Davis? Reason number 2, could you send some money? Reason number 3, what was my Facebook password again? But on this June day in 2017, my mom, it wasn't her birthday. She definitely didn't need her Facebook password, so she needed money. In fact, she needed a lot of money, about $22,000 for a medical bill. For anyone who's never been to the US, this is USD, not Thai baht. If you fall in the US, you might end up with this bill. And if anyone doesn't know, the healthcare system in the US is about as reliable as the Conrad Wi-Fi. So bring some travel insurance. But all of a sudden, I'm faced with this $22,000 bill. And at the time, recently out of school, I can't just go to the bank and get a loan. I have no savings. And I'm working a job about 60 to 70 hours per week at a company where I get paid on the profits they make. And at the time, we had no profits. So I couldn't just go to my boss and say, hey, can I get a raise? What raise, Davis? You make a percentage of our profits. We have no profits. So I needed to figure out what to do. I didn't know at the time, but this call, which brought so much stress to my life, would be the start of a multi-million-dollar business. But for today, I just want to share with you the first $1 million and how I got there working just Saturdays and Sundays. Today I have a team, but we're going to go back in time to 2017 and see how we paid off this debt. But before you think Davis is some genius who can just get his way out of $22,000, these are all the businesses I started since college. They all failed. In fact, if you were betting on me, I would have said, go put your money in Luna coin in 2022. And for anyone who doesn't get that reference, you probably still have money in your bank. So I'm a failure, but I need to make this work. And so I figured, what skills do I have? Well, I graduated college, so I could probably help people get jobs. So my company on Saturdays and Sundays would be very simple. I would help students and recent grads with their resume get interviews in management consulting jobs, and I'd help them prepare for the interviews. Very simple business, just Saturdays and Sundays. But again, I'm a failure, so let's see how this goes. But along the way, somehow this business made over $1 million just me working on Saturdays and Sundays. And these frameworks that I'm going to teach you today, I learned along the way, but they will apply to you no matter if you're going from $1 to $1,000, $1,000 to $10,000, $10,000 to $100,000 and beyond. I know because I still use these frameworks today. I teach my team to use these frameworks. And for the companies I invest in, I teach the founders to also use these frameworks. So they'll work for you no matter if you have a SaaS business, a coaching business, anything. If you're by yourself or you have a team of 500 people. So let's go through the journey to $1 million. So the first lesson really helped me go from $0 to $3,000 a month on the weekends. But this lesson applied to my childhood. When I was a kid, my mom would always take me grocery shopping, and we would see aisles of food like this. You would have so many milk options in the US. You would have regular milk, fat-free milk, negative fat-free milk, whatever that is, soy milk, oat milk, goat milk, you name it. But my mom and I, we never bought any of these milks because we couldn't afford it. My mom, she never had a chance to go to school. She was paralyzed from youth. As a result, she never had a chance to even learn English, and here we are living in America. We were so poor that for most of my life, our clothing came from thrift stores. And when our clothes ripped, we couldn't just go back to the store and buy it. So for example, for most of my life, whenever my shoe broke, I would always carry duct tape with me. So in gym time, whenever my shoelace would come undone or my shoe would come apart, I would literally go in my backpack, take the duct tape out, duct tape my shoes, and everything goes on to continue. And I thought this was normal. But because we were so poor, you can imagine you can't afford goat milk at this rate. So every Saturday and Sunday, my mom and I would go through all the mail that we received that week and cut out these coupons. Whatever we could cut out became our meal for that week. My mom and I lived under government welfare. And as a result, after paying rent, after paying for other services, making sure that the lights are on, my mom realized that every meal that she made for me had to be under $1. So how can she feed her son under $1 a day? My mom realized that you didn't need fancy food. My mom never went to school. No one taught her what a carbohydrate was. She doesn't know what a calorie was. But she knew that the purpose of food is to give you energy. And for her, she dreamt that her son could go to school, could learn, and could do something better with his life than she ever had. And so my mom needed to figure out, how do you make a dollar meal in the US that would give my son enough energy to not pass out in the middle of his classroom? So my mom came up with this recipe, which was an egg, rice, and 2 pieces of Spam. And I would eat this every day for 18 years. I ate on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. And then Sunday, I could add soy sauce. But this became my meal for 18 years. But it taught me a lesson, which was my first framework. If it's not exponential, it's unessential. When you're starting a business, you get so many different ideas about what you can do. I need a YouTube channel. I need to run Facebook ads. I need a TikTok channel. Hey, do I need a better logo? What's this SEO stuff? And it could be really overwhelming. When I started my business in 2017, I didn't have a framework for how to build this, so I needed to build one myself. I realized I only had Saturdays and Sundays to work on my business. And so I came up with this very, very simple framework here, which was, on one axis, I would say, how much time did it take me to do something? If it was very low time investment, I would put it on the left-hand side. So if it took a weekend, an hour, left-hand side. If it took me months or years, I would put it on the right-hand side. And then top and bottom would be, how much impact would this make to my business? The impact could be whatever you want. It could be cash, could be number of clicks, could be subscribers. For me, it was, how much money can I collect up front? So I wanted things that were really fast to do, but would bring in a lot of money, which was my results. The opposite would be the high time investment and low impact. And then the two things in the middle, I'll get to later once I have more time. But for now, I just want to focus on that green box. For example, when I first started, there were a couple things on my list that I wanted to do with my business. I wanted to find an accountant because in the US, if you don't file your taxes properly, you could go to jail. Second, I wanted to learn this thing called SEO. Very esoteric topic, apparently. Third, I needed a company name because Davis Doing Your Resumes is probably not the best name. Fourth, I thought, maybe I go on Reddit and start answering questions that students have about their resume. And so I used this framework. First was finding an accountant, which I did know I needed to stay out of jail. But I didn't have any money.
So my joke was, it's going to take a lot of time to find an accountant, and there's no money they're saving. So when I make money better than an accountant, I'm going to hire a lawyer. Learning SEO. I did some Google research and realized that SEO takes anywhere between a year to like 2 years for you to start seeing the results. And I needed to help my mom today. I don't need $22,000 in 2 years. I need it today. But maybe one day, this would be high impact. So I keep this in the second priority box. Third priority, company name, won't make any money, so I'll just put it down here. But the thing that would be answering questions on Reddit to try to get customers who would eventually pay me. And so I found a subreddit called Consulting, which was the career path that I was helping students get into. And I just started answering questions on a Saturday afternoon. My goal was that by using Reddit posts, I could spend a couple hours and be able to clear that debt. And so my goal was take this empty calendar here and make as many customers and sales calls as I could. And so this, within a weekend, became my calendar. And eventually, by doing this repeatedly, I would clear the debt within 7 months. But before you think that you have to do that forever, you can take the same framework and use it as it evolves. So for example, 11 months later, we've bypassed $3,000. I've already cleared the debt. But now I'm answering, how do I jump to the next level? And so you can see here, answering Reddit posts is still part of my strategy. I could start SEO, I could run Facebook ads, or I could do Quora ads. So using the same framework, things evolve. This is what got me to $3,000 a month and be able to clear that debt. But it was taking a lot of time now because there weren't that many questions coming in that I didn't answer already. So as a result, this was high, potentially low impact, and it took a lot of time. So all of a sudden, something that was green 11 months earlier became red. SEO, still, I need money today, not 2 years from now. So stay in the same place. Facebook ads, I wanted to run it, but at the time, the reach on Facebook ads for my audience was very low. So it wasn't worth the effort, even if it would take an hour or two just to put everything in place. So I put it under priority 3. Low impact, but low time investment. But what I found was Quora, which is a Q&A forum, so similar to what I was doing, but now I could do it at scale with a Quora ad. And you see here, the audience, there's like over 200,000 people who follow this topic. And that's what we went with. It took me 2 hours, again, I'm still working Saturdays and Sundays on this, to scale the Quora ads, build up copy, place it on live, and eventually we would get to the $40,000 a month with just Quora ads. So that's the first thing I learned, which is if it's not exponential, it's unessential. If you say yes to this, ask yourself, what are you saying no to? The fact that you're here at DCBKK means that you said no to every single other opportunity. So it's the same thing with implementing new ideas. So that's framework number 1. Framework number 2, I used when I was going from 3,000 to 40,000. This is a picture of one of the homes that my mom and I lived nearby. Every time I look at this picture, I realize, wow, I can't believe that was my neighborhood. In fact, our neighborhood had a saying, which was, people go to jail, not to Yale. And I kind of wanted not to go to jail. And so I had this dream. Even though my community was known for people not going to college and people dropping out and going to jail, I secretly wanted to go to Yale. But I didn't know anyone who had gone to Yale. I didn't know many people who went to college. But I figured this internet thing can probably help me. So I went to the student newspaper of Yale, which is Yale Daily News, and I would do this for every university that I wanted to apply to. I would just read the student newspaper, and if there was an article that I felt, wow, this person's really smart, I would just code email them and just say, hi, I really enjoyed reading your piece in the student newspaper. I'm this student. My mom never went to school. I might be the first person in my family to finish high school. I've loved your help. Could you read my essay trying to get into Yale? And I did this for Yale, Harvard, Stanford, all the schools I wanted to apply to. And eventually, I would get full scholarships to Harvard, to Yale, and many other universities. And eventually, to prove that, no, not everyone goes to Yale. You can go to Yale. I went to Yale. And this is a Yale graduation photo. If you can't tell from my head, House of Cards was very popular back then. What this taught me was that to glide, find a guide. You don't have to know everything. You just need to know people who can help you get there. So this is a photo, not from today, but from 2018 that I took, sitting right there. And I thought to myself, this was my first DC event, and I thought to myself, wow, all these people are so much smarter than me. They know so much more than me. What can I learn from them? And I went and just reached out to a number of people who were doing the things that I wanted to do. And I just literally said, hey, next year in 2019, do you want to go to Chiang Mai, just leave your family and help me build my business and I help you build your business? I'm not the best at code outreach. But somehow, I managed to convince 4 people to move to Chiang Mai with me and leave their families and significant others behind. And from these, we would meet every single night to work on our businesses to keep each other accountable. And we learned a lot from each other. For example, this is Jeff Sowers from Data Driven U. He taught me how to hire good people. If this guy can build an 8-figure agency, I think he can teach me how to hire for my small company at the time. Again, I was transitioning to going full-time soon. This is Fabian. He taught me how to build and plan for better funnels. This is Luke Walker. He taught me how to build a sales team and encourage them. And this is Tom Rogers, who taught me how to finally start SEO. I wouldn't be here without these guys. And I hope they would say the same thing with everything that we went through during our time in Chiang Mai. And we still meet every single month after that fact. I see you, Fabian. The takeaway here is you don't have to figure out everything yourself. Sometimes the question you should not ask is, how do I do this? It's, who should I talk to? So the glide, find your guide. Framework number 3. This I use going from $40,000 to $100,000 a month, and of course crossing $1 million, and I'm transitioning to full-time right about this time as well. To find your reason, you can weather the seasons. Oftentimes I look at this photo I took and I think about, how did my mom raise me? How did she take care of both of us without any help, without any assistance, without any guidance, without knowing what tomorrow would bring, being able to cook meals for under $1 a day? And I think, wow, nothing I go through is probably as tough as being a single mother. And I thought to myself, if my mom had a reason to keep going every day, maybe I should find a reason for my business. And so when it came time to clearing the debt, I was working 70 hours per week, Monday through Friday, barely making a paycheck. And then Friday nights, I would have to open up my laptop, go on Reddit, start posting. Saturdays, have my sales calls, and Sunday, do the coaching. And this went on for 7 months. I didn't have a single day off. And I thought, why do I want to keep going at this? And I always think about all the things my mom did for me. And this is the least I can do for her. But eventually, the debt would get paid. But I wanted to have another reason for continuing. As entrepreneurs, we go through so many highs and so many lows. Some days, you feel like a business genius, and that tomorrow, Fortune magazine is going to feature you on the cover. And other days, you feel like the cover is going to say, homeless. I know certain days I felt like I was going to be homeless. And so I needed another reason. And so I started a scholarship foundation in my hometown. And these scholarships are not named after me, but are named after teachers in my high school who believed that a poor kid raised by a single mother who didn't go to school could actually go to Yale. And the first scholarship I ever created, one of the recipients is a guy named Donovan Henderson, who would end up using the money to go to Georgia Tech, which is one of the top engineering schools in the US. Today, he's studying aerospace engineering. So yes, he is much smarter than me. This kept me going during the tough times. When I first started going full-time, this was what my schedule looked like. Has anyone ever been to Bali? A lot of people. For the other half of the room, when you go to Bali, there is something called Bali belly. What happens is your stomach fights for a week to try not to break and burst. Well, I went to Bali and got Bali belly with this full schedule. And so at this point, I had 2 choices. I could either cancel all my calls. They'll understand. I literally have food coming out of me every 5 minutes. They should understand. But it also means that I can't provide that future for my mom. All the other students who want to have a scholarship might not have one. And so my reason became, let's provide for those students. So this is me. At the time, I'm still working by myself. This is me taking a sales call, and you can see on the left-hand side, this is all the medicine that you take for Bali belly. Around the corner is the toilet. So I would take a call and then run to the toilet and then have 15 minutes in between my calls. And I would do that for a whole week. But don't worry, this is the only photo I'm showing you from that week. But I always remembered my motivation, my reason for wanting to get up. Because even when you're on a high, sometimes you feel like you're on top of the world and you lose your motivation to keep going. So this advice isn't just when you're on your low moments like I was, but it also applies when you feel like, business is going well, I should just cruise. And sometimes you just need a reason to keep going. And like a roller coaster, life goes up and down. After Bali Belly a couple months later, this is me in DC 2019. And for anyone wondering, yes, that's the same outfit I'm wearing today as I did a couple years ago. And this was such a high for me because I hosted a meetup. I was able to give back to our community. And then when I got the feedback about my session being people's favorite session, I felt, wow, I'm on top of the world. But like anyone knows, roller coasters happen in the entrepreneurial journey. And so a few months later, after 2019, when I'm full-time, this happens. Remember, my company is about helping people get jobs. So around this time, companies stop hiring. So I'm thinking to myself, wow, this is really where I go homeless right now. And this was probably one of the toughest moments in my business was I didn't want to wake up in the morning. I didn't want to turn on my news. I didn't want to have to answer another customer email saying, hey, Davis, this company, are they hiring? What's happening? Can I get a refund? My team wondering, hey, Davis, what's happening? How much money do we have reserved? Should I find another job? How am I going to provide for my family? What's happening? Like many of you, I didn't have the answers. I, too, was just looking at all the posts, figuring out what's trying to happen. And at this point, I felt, wow, I could just quit. I could just stop this. Why do I keep going these ups and downs of the entrepreneurial roller coaster? I don't have to put myself through this. But I remembered at this point, I had a team. If I said no, that I don't want to wake up and work and figure this out, I say no to every single team member. And I say no that they're not worth my time. And they became the reason. So it wasn't just my mom. It just wasn't the people who would rely on the scholarships, but it was also the people that you see here, my team. And I found a bigger reason to go. As you can see, the entrepreneurial roller coaster goes ups and downs. So as the roller coaster continues and the highs get higher and the lows get lower, you need to have a reason. Because if your reason is not big enough, your excuses will be. So these are the 3 frameworks that I used to build a $1 million business on the weekends when I was first just working Saturdays and Sundays. First, if it's not exponential, it's unessential. You're going to learn so many amazing ideas this weekend, but before you overwhelm yourself and overwhelm your team, just think about what's actually going to help you get to your goal, wherever they may be. Second, to glide, find a guide. You don't have to do everything yourself. There's amazing people who are going to help you get there. And third, find your reason to weather the seasons. Wherever that reason is, find it within yourself. If you're on a high, it keeps you going. If it's a low, it helps you work your way through a high. And some of you might be thinking, Davis, I've fallen down so many times recently. I don't know what to do. There's an entrepreneurial saying that an entrepreneur should be able to fall down, grab their shoelaces, and pull themselves back up. But some of you may be feeling, Davis, I've fallen down so many times. My shoe's worn. My shoelaces are coming undone. I can't do this. If that's you, I hope that this weekend you find the motivation to strengthen it up. Because, like our community, it represents a duct tape towards putting this together so that you can continue to get up. And I know how powerful duct tape can be. So this weekend, no matter who you are, if you're on a high, a low, somewhere in your journey, I hope you find that reason and that idea, and that you too will be able to inspire someone around this audience. Because I know this community has inspired me, and I hope that the time that we spend together will be worth it as well. And always remember, if you don't have enough duct tape, you don't have enough shoelaces, always keep your hopes high.
Davis Nguyen, everybody. What a story.